Red hot, so 6 in a row. Got a text from T-Bone last night at
Saw it.
9:31. The more the Sox crush it, the less credence I give to these wins after they blow out the Rockies last night as well.
Does it make the Tampa series that much bigger because that team sucks so bad like you can't even watch it?
Yes.
We know Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, you
You're
just
100% right.
back-to-back teams that, they're not competitive right now with Washington and Colorado. But
sorry, Milken.
I don't think Tampa's all that great either, even though they're ahead of the Red Sox.
This used to be like the tomato can Shaughnessy thing. Like the Patriots would play the AFC.
This is the 2000 whatever 10 divisional round Broncos.
We said going
Maybe
into
11.
the series, Paul, we were like, you know what? Maybe the Rockies actually take one because the Red Sox are so up and down. First at bat for the Red Sox last night, Jarren Duran hits a ground ball up the middle. Shortstop kicks it into right field. Right fielder goes to grab it. Tries to barehand it, by the way. Great fundamentals there. Red Sox would be proud of that.
Yeah.
Overruns it, and Duran winds up on third base. You're like, this game's already over. It's already over. And it was. 10-2. They've now won 6 in a row. You buying in at all, Zoe, as we go into this Rays series, that there's some life here for the Red Sox?
What do you mean light? Like what are we talking about?
You think this is genuine? Have they turned a corner here?
I don't think so. No, I'm kind of with what Dondero said. I'm not buying it when Dondero was in yesterday, and it's like I think it's fool's gold. I do because I think there's a chance they could trade Duran. I don't want them to trade Duran. You could get rid of your clothes. There's a multitude of things they can do that won't be baseball moves to help the team right now. Like you got rid of Paul. I don't know what your thoughts are on the Devers thing. I haven't heard you talk about that, but like you got rid of like your best player for nothing.
Well, that's the part.
That was a baseball
The
move.
for nothing part is
You're
the
a
part that
baseball
I can't wrap my head around. If you want to get rid of him, clearly they didn't like the contract from the moment they signed it.
Yeah.
So they wanted to get rid of him. They took an opportunity and they dumped him. It was a salary dump, but call it what it was. I still think you could have gotten something, but neither here nor there. The only thing, Tim, that I'm sort of wondering about now is does this what did they win now? It's 6 in a row, what is it, 8 out of 9 or whatever it is. Does that change the mentality at the deadline? Because I would be disappointed if if they wanted to do something, say 2 weeks ago, and now this has changed their mind. It would bother me because I think you don't allow a small sample size against 2 terrible teams to change your course of action. If in fact you had the Durans or Abreu, if one of those 2 guys is on the block, or what did you mention? You mentioned Chapman.
Yeah.
As a possible. I think you could get something for Chapman right now. He's pitched at an exceptionally high level for them this year.
But what if you deal him and somehow you do get into this thing and now all of a sudden you don't have him?
Maybe you end up dealing for a controllable reliever, like Duran from the Twins or something like that. But you look at your playoff odds right now.
I'd rather Chapman.
You're at 35% playoff. For your playoff percentage, you go to the trade deadline a year ago, it was 37%. That's how much you've increased your odds. You're now tied for the 3rd wild card with the Mariners.
That's great. But if they're built analytically, right? They look at the numbers. So if they're really smart, analytical baseball people, they realize the 2 teams that they just played. And you can't come out of those series looking at it in the way you feel that you did coming out of that Yankee series
and
when you
there's something
swept
I
out.
think that Red Sox fans in particular, we do it for all of our sports, but I think the Red Sox are guilty of it more than most. And it's probably because of the length of the season. The snapshot of when things are best, Red Sox fans think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they think it's World Series.
And it's not, to me, it's got less to do with the opponents. I would totally grant you guys, these are 2 really bad teams. I was joking with Tyler, about the Rockies in particular. I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, well, they're the worst team in baseball. And she's go, oh, okay. I go, but that's really not the whole story. It may be the worst team in the history of
Yes,
baseball.
exactly. Yeah.
So I understand how bad these teams are, but they're playing well right now. They're hitting, obviously, at a level they're not going to sustain.
No.
You're not going to score 10 runs every single game, but they have. So you take these snapshots when they're red hot, and then you look at it, like Cleveland just lost 10 in a row. And you won, 9 out of 10, and you're only 3 games ahead of Cleveland.
Right.
So that's going to eventually turn around. So I think there's a lot more involved than just saying, well, they're the 3rd wild card. They have 35% off. They're going to go through another little dip. That's what the last 5 years have been. Peaks and valleys. It's not 500 teams don't all win 1 and lose 1. Sometimes they win 5 in a row and then they lose 5 in a row. And that's what this Red Sox team has been. They just lost 6 in a row 2 weeks ago. Now they've won 6 in a row.
And
you
they
thought
won
they were
6 in
dead.
a row before that, right? Like that's the
twice,
pattern
yeah.
of this team.
It's happened twice. Yeah.
So I just don't. I wouldn't get lost with the small samples and saying, okay, this is definitively what this team is.
Yeah.
This team is probably a 500 team. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
And that's what I think they believe too. Like that's the reality check of it. Like if you're a numbers person, like they are, you have to look at it in totality, and that's what they are.
Well, that's what the hope would be, and like you said, Paul, I would hope that the small sample size of this 6-game thing for a guy that prints out his computer model and shows it to Rafael Devers in spring training to explain, why you're not going to play third base and stuff like that anymore, that you're not taking that small sample size of 6 games and letting that determine exactly what you're going to be doing when it comes to this deadline, and really taking a holistic approach when you kind of figure out
That's a
whether
big
you
word
want to
for
be.
you.
I know.
Wow, why'd you just pull holistic?
You know what?
from
I
that?
filled in with Gasper on Saturday, like 2 weeks
don't
ago.
do that.
explains
I just
it.
wrote down a couple words. I was like, all right, we're going to steal that, put that in the back pocket.
Yeah,
So
eat a
that kind of
thesaurus. I
exactly,
get it, yeah.
exactly. That's what explains
That
it.
happens when you go with Chris for a while.
Holistic.
I know. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I don't know where that came from.
No,
but
but
no,
if
I
there
think
are
that's
deals-
kind of the way you have to do it, though, if you're the Red Sox. And I
if there
think
are
that.
deals to be made that can allow you to improve the team, by all means do them. Don't dump guys for the sake of trading them. Like Tyler said, if there's pieces that you can acquire that are younger and going to be more valuable for the future and as well as the short term, do it. Don't hold on to these guys. You got a log jam. You're going to probably have to make a move somewhere, right? I mean, you can't. There's no room for all these guys to play.
Well, I
If
think.
you trade a guy like Jaron Duran for prospects again, like you're going to lose even more people than you've lost
You're
already.
losing
That'd be a
viewers.
tough,
You're
that'd be a
losing
tough
people.
sell. Yeah.
That needs to be a major league trade.
That's
Or-
my point though. But that's the Durant.
Pitching,
I
right?
need Durant and I need Chapman. Like you just named a guy. Like I could care less if he comes here. You control both.
He
of
those
us. I don't
100.
care.
His stuff's
I
really
don't
good.
care. I don't care about that though.
He's a true late inning.
But this is the problem with baseball, and this is where you lose people. You start shipping away players that people know and that are actually decent players or had a history. Like that'll bring you to the table.
Right, but with the when you're talking about the outfielders in particular,
Yeah.
Chapman, I get with your story. But that's a veteran piece. But you have Duran, Abreu, and now the kids are coming into this. Rafael has been playing. He's been hitting a little bit better. Last month and a half. Someone's going to sit. When one of these guys starts to sit, they lose value. So that's why you have to thread the needle here and figure out who you want to keep. And there's not enough room.
Right.
You got Yoshida's coming back now. A couple of hits last night. There's not enough room for all these guys to play. So you're going to have to figure out, do you want to sit Roman Anthony?
No,
I don't.
no, I don't want to sit any of these kids. Like I really didn't even want to sit Campbell.
But there's only 3 spots in the outfield.
Yeah.
So someone's got to sit unless you move somebody.
If you're trying to win right now and trying to put a playoff team out there and you have a resource that can go out and help the rest of the roster, I think you have to go out and make that move. But I do think we're coming to a point here with the Red Sox and Craig Breslow where this is sort of this defining moment when it comes to him as a GM. And I think you kind of run into this stuff when you're a general manager where you get to points in your tenure, whether it's Theo with Nomar, whether it's Danny Ainge with the first pick in 2017, or you're going to take Markel Fultz, you're going to trade it, where you have to make these sort of big picture decisions that sort of change the fortunes of your franchise. And for Breslow, I think this trade deadline is going to be that. I think this is a huge spot for Breslow, and I think he has the most pressure out of anyone when it comes to the Red Sox organization over the next few weeks. I really do.
You don't want to repeat 2022 for Chaim Bloom. I think that's really it, where you stay over the luxury tax, but you don't buy in a significant way. You do some selling at the same time, and you upset the clubhouse. Craig Breslow, if you're going to talk and say you think this team would be better without Rafael Devers, you were going to get to the end of the season and have a better record, then you need to make those moves right now. Because having one of Jaron Duran or Willie Abreu sitting against righties on a regular basis, it's a waste of assets. It's a waste of handling everything there. And my question is, with Masataka Yoshida and you bringing him back, right? Yes, we have this platoon with Rob Snyder and him. It should produce pretty well. You isolated Masataka Yoshida for the last 4 months. You told him to get the hell away. You hit in spring training, and you didn't do anything. Would you have been better off just having this outfield, these 4 guys, continue to rotate in that DH spot, or does it really mean that much to get Yoshida in the DH spot with Ref Snyder? Because you have this logjam that you now need to figure out where one of Abreu or Duran is going to sit. Both of those guys are better hitters than Masataka Yoshida. So what is this situation you've kind of created for yourself if you're not going to make that deal for Duran or whatever it may be? Because Craig Breslow, you're going to sit here and not be willing to deal him or hold on to him because you're not getting the return you want. Well, hey, Rafael Devers, you were willing to take a lesser return. Yes, you got the financial flexibility in that deal, which pushed it more than anything. But You kind of can't have it both ways. Don't tell me you're that serious about competing if you're going to waste an asset like that on the bench and take away, 15, 20% of his at-bats.
And for me, it's and I agree with what Sean said, like they don't have to do it, but it's a roll of the dice. Because I look at it, if you want to wait till the offseason, that's possible. But in a perfect world, that will work. Then you can deal one of them. But what if Tyler's situation unfolds and one of these guys is sitting and their value drops? Now, it could work out the opposite. You say, well, Paul, you're only looking at it, the negative way because I grew up here, so that's what I tend to do. But that's awful tough to say, well, these guys are going to play on a part-time basis. Both of them are going to hit. Everybody's going to be happy. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the year, you're going to be able to say, well, I don't want to trade either one of these guys, but I have a logjam. They're good players. There's value here in William Abreu. Take them off my hand. Give me a middle of the rotation starting pitcher, or something like that. I mean, I don't know what you could get for him, but more likely to me would be these guys are not going to be happy playing part-time. They're probably not going to produce as much as they might have if they were playing on a regular basis, and then you lose trade value.
It's a great point, by the way, that we haven't even brought up the human dynamic of this thing and guys wanting to actually.
Because they don't do that, Tim.
No.
They don't have a human dynamic because it's foreign concept to these quants. That's all they think of is the spreadsheet. But yes, that to me is a big part of the problem is emotionally, that's not a great way to attack your
100%.
Your livelihood.
You bring up the clubhouse, too, and then you screw that whole dynamic up. And then you got guys that, hey, I don't want to be here then. Call my agent, get me out of here by the deadline. That's what you're going to have on your hands.
Well, and then you have Cora, who's essentially continuing to take shots at Rafael Devers. Hey, these guys are all bought in. They understand what it is. It's a lot different when those guys actually start sitting and you're in the middle of a playoff push or whatever it is. Because if you're Jarren Duran, who's been on fire, he's smoking homers, he's looking like the version of himself from last summer, that guy finished 8th in MVP voting. You're going to tell him he has to sit some days? William Abreu, who's come back since coming off the IL and been what he was in April and continues to elevate from what he was a year ago. He leads the team in home runs right now, and he plays Gold Glove defense in right field. Like, if you're those two guys, say what you will about Roman Anthony. I think he's incredible. I want him playing every day.
Yeah.
That guy just jumped me on the depth chart. What the hell did I do wrong to be moved down and have to sit some days? That's what it's going to be. And Ceddanne Rafaela, unless you're willing to have a difficult convo, and it was a different conversation a couple weeks ago or even a month ago when he didn't hit. He's now above league average hitter. He's been one of the most impressive players on the team. No one was willing to play him at second base because you said his value only came from playing center field. Do you start thinking about that? Are they going to be willing to put Rafael at second? You send Marcelo down, and all right, the logjam kind of figures itself out. I don't know. They're doing a lot of crazy stuff. Yoshida's taking grounders at first base. But you need to pick a pathway here, and you need to make some hard decisions. And you were willing to make a hard decision on Rafael Devers. Guess what? You got to do it now with Jarren Duran or whoever it is who's going to be the odd man out here.
617-779-0985. Aiden is on the line. Aiden, what's up?
Hey, guys. I love all these takes. I don't know if you guys have seen the video of Roman Anthony taking fly balls and left off the monster. I think it's obvious that Duran's got to go. I mean, right now, he's starting to get back into things. You're going to want to get something for him that is going to be worth it, and I think that's what they have to worry about right now. After the All-Star break, this team is known to fall apart, and I think, honestly, getting Duran out of there and finding somebody who's going to help you pitching-wise is going to be the move.
I mean, just think about the commentary right there. So you got a guy that's getting it going again, and now you want to move him. Again, one of the players that I do like, a guy that's played himself into it, that deck was kind of stacked against him. Now we're going to ship this type of guy out of town to go get more pieces.
But
to do what?
That's Tim's thing with Breslow. He's at a moment right now where he has to make a tough call.
Yeah.
And this is the hard part of that is
then ship Abreu.
Is to figure out which guys to hold on to and which guys, because all of these guys that are playing, they're not all going to be long-term what they are right now. Again, this gets back to my point about the small sample. It's never a great time to take a snapshot, in that sport, based on 2 weeks, good and bad. And everybody just did it 2 weeks ago on the bad side. Everybody wrote them off, and everybody said it was over.
For sure, yeah.
When they were playing their worst. And now we're doing the same thing the opposite way. They 2 out of 3 against Cincinnati and then 2 sweeps.
Yeah.
8 out of 9 against, 2 really bad teams and 1 mediocre one. This is why it's not an easy job. They have to decide which ones of those good players, though, to your point, which good player who's playing well right now is it time to go for? Because they probably going to have to make that call.
It's not an easy call, and I'll tell you what, Breslow's done himself no favors in terms of just roster construction and not allowing himself to get any leverage when it comes to these deals, because other teams are going to see this, by the way, and say, yeah, you're going to have to move one of these guys, so no, we're not going to give you top dollar for a Jarren Duran. So that's another thing that I think is kind of working against Breslow here moving forward, which is tough as well.
Think about how hard it is to make a deal where you want to get a number 2 young starting pitcher, but you want to trade Jarren Duran for that guy who's in his prime and is trying to win. Those two things don't align. If a team's trying to win, they're not trading a young stud at the top of their rotation.
Right.
So unless you deal Duran and you turn it into another deal, you do something crazy like that, maybe that changes the convo, but that is so complicated and hard to match up on at the trade deadline when, as McCone said, you don't have that leverage.
No, but that's why you love the guy like Crochet, because you can control him, you give him the contract, and that's going to be your frontline guy.
Yeah.
You're not going to get these kind of pickups every damn year.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Pat's in Franklin. Pat, what's up?
So I want to give everybody their flowers for commuting on this hell day, Scott. I have no idea how you did it.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean, it's just awful. So that's number one. Number two, they got to buy. They got to get a pitcher. I haven't had Nesson for 5 years. I just want to press the button and say I want to give this a shot and watch my Red Sox. They got to do something. They got to do something.
So you're saying do something big.
Do something good.
Well, what's good?
Get a good pitcher.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the need.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much let's go back to my snapshot thing. Giolito. He's been out of his mind for 2 months?
Yeah. Giolito and Bayo have both turned a corner here in the last.
Now, Bayo's still young.
Yeah.
So Bayo, I think this could be what he is.
Yeah.
He had a lot of promise. He kind of plateaued. He didn't have a great first half last year. I thought he finished a little bit better. But this could be with Bayo. I kind of think Giolito's in a hot streak.
Yeah.
Right now. So what happens when he tails off? Do you get more starts that look like Bueller? All of a sudden you get 2 holes, right? Right now you got no issues. You're getting great starts from Richard Fitz. Hunter Dobbins was pitching well for them before.
No, you're right. You're right.
There's no issues when everybody's pitching well.
Yeah.
But I don't have a lot of faith in the rotation beyond Crochet and to a lesser extent Bayo.
617-779-0985. See you guys lined up. Wanted to talk Red Sox. We'll continue that conversation. We'll mix in some Messi. Did you watch that last night, Zoe?
I think it was on Apple TV, so that's you know what that answer is.
Yeah,
Apple
so it's
Plus.
like The Departed. Yeah, it's not happening if it's streaming. Yeah, 100%. No.
I told Paul, they stream them out.
I sound like I make the rules.
No, I know. It's just like that's.
I didn't tell him to make.
You got to know a guy.
It's
Come
an easy.
on. Yeah.
It's an easy decision for me, and the place wasn't banged out at all.
Yeah.
Not close to
I know,
last year.
last year when Messi came to town, it was a big deal, and there was a lot of excitement down there. I did not feel the same sort of anticipation leading up to the game this year.